Hey guys, and welcome to the Fitpro Social with me, David Kyle.
And me, Ash Burleigh. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fitpro Social. It's with me and Dave again. As always with these things, if you are watching live, please make sure you say hi in the comments. Please get involved with the conversation. The clue is in the name, Fitpro Social. So we want you guys to be social as well. And likewise with these things, if you want to come on and get involved with any of our shows, feel free to reach out to either myself or Dave on social media. That's completely fine. You can find me at Ash Burleigh, and you can find David probably David Carr. Let's give it a search and come get involved with the conversation. So today we're going to be talking about quite a varied topic, quite an interesting topic. We're going to talk about mentors, but more specifically business mentors within the fitness industry. And so, yeah, I guess the best way to start this is, Dave, like, have you ever had a business mentor?
I think we should stop there. If anybody that watched right at the start was wondering why me and Ash were kind of chuckling at each other just as we started, we were both kind of like casually dancing to that starter music. It was just kind of like getting us in the mood for this. So let us know, what are your thoughts on the intro music that we have? Is it any good, or do you think it's absolutely terrible? Just let us know. But yeah, mentors, it is one of those tough topics where if you get it right, it's going to be a game changer for yourself personally and for your business. And if you get it wrong, I know a few people who've got it wrong and they've literally fallen out of the industry because it hit them so badly financially. They just had to go and get another job. I have my own views. Ash, you've probably got your own views on it. But I think most of the views are really going to come down to doing the right homework on that person, which then falls into the second point of actually doing the work that they tell you to do. So I've had a couple of mentors in the past, and I've got one now. Ash, what about you? Have you had mentors? Have you still got one?
I've had mentors in the past, some in different industries, some within the fitness industry. I don't have one at the moment, actually, funny enough. I don't have a mentor at the moment. Not that I'm not looking for one. I'll talk about how I kind of go about it now with mentors and coaches and things like that. We'll jump onto that in a bit. But yeah, in the past, like, I've had mentors, and it's definitely opened my eyes to what I think a mentor actually is. And I think that's probably quite a good place to start, talk about what an actual mentor is, at least from my opinion anyway, what a mentor is. So I think when you mentioned there about you need to do your homework, I think that's extremely important for a mentor, because to me, a mentor by definition is you are effectively following in the same footsteps as somebody else, which is different to what maybe a coach would be. So if you're going to hire a mentor and bring a mentor in, what effectively you're saying is, okay, I like what this person is doing. I like what this person has done. What I want to do now is go and learn from this person. And normally with mentorship, and this is more common, I would say, outside of the fitness industry than what it is in the fitness industry. Normally, you would just go and almost be shadowed. That's the best way I can describe it. You'd almost, in most industries, actually shadowed. And you try and find out what they're doing. They will give you advice to point in the right direction. And a lot of the time, like I've worked with mentors before in the past where they've not given me all the answers. What they're doing is ask the right questions. They've actually said, well, no, what you should do is go and work with this person or this company. And they've actually pointed me to different directions, because in their experience, when they were running their business or still running their business, they would openly go, well, actually, I don't like me, for example, I'm terrible at running ads myself. That's why I don't talk about it. That's why I don't do it. I'd rather have someone else do it. I'd rather say, go and speak to Fitpro lead gen about it, because it's not my expertise. So I could mentor somebody in online coaching, but when it comes to doing ads, I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I know how to get the best from ads, because I don't. And if I was mentoring somebody, I should really tell them or show them what I did in my experience. And I think that's where some of the issue lies with mentorship. I think in reality, what you are doing is following that path. And it's a bit like, I suppose, a diet or a fitness program or something like that. We know as coaches that if you was to create a diet plan specifically for a particular type of person, the principles behind that diet, the fundamental principles are the same, but the approach you take is different. And it's that approach that you take that varies from client to client. And that's why some people can go for a diet and get great results. Some people can go for another diet and not for the same diet and not get the great results. And the same thing happens with mentorship. So that's why I think it's extremely important to do that research first, because you need to make sure the path that this person's taking is the path that you want to go down and it's going to suit you. And that doesn't mean it's always going to be right for you.
Yes and no on that one. Like, the reason I've hired mentors before is because I want to collapse time. I want to be in that position that they are currently in right now. Or they're talking about the things that are the places that want to be there right now, and that type of thing. So I'm guessing that's the same. But then let's say you talk about Clive Woodward. Yeah, so he rugby international coach for England and all that, but then suddenly now he's helping football clubs. And then you've got the same for David Brailsford, cycling coach who helped the cycling or Sky or whatever they're called get to real great heights, but now he's now not the technical director of Nice Football Club, but he's something else. And then now I was reading that he's now going to help Man U with taking on the new owners, people that are going to buy from them. So a mentor for me could be two things. It could be a way to collapse time, to follow the path that this person's been on, so you don't have to make those same mistakes, so you can get there quicker. Or potentially they've got transferable skills that they've acquired in a different industry that you can then, like you said, they're asking you the right questions. You're then coming up with the best answers, which sometimes is a teaching style, but sometimes it makes you feel good as well, because it feels like you've come up with that answer yourself. But then at the same time, if you feel like you're coming up with that answer yourself, you might then think, I don't need the coach, and then that kind of falls down quite quick.
Yeah, definitely. I think the key word you've said there a couple of times is coach. So I actually think I look at mentors and coaches as two different things. And I think a coach is exactly that. A coach has transferable skills. And this is actually, you don't see it too much in the fitness industry, but for anyone who doesn't know, my main background in coaching was not actually within the fitness industry. I moved into it when I was quite young, but before then I spent a lot of time working in the adventure industry and within the sport industry, just like you did. And I don't know if it was the same. It started to change as time went on, but basically what happened is there was a governing body that came out, and what started to happen across a number of different sports is that you had a coaching qualification and then you had a practical version of it. So in theory, what you could do, you could become let's make it simple, like a level 1, level 2, level 3 coach, and you learn the coaching skill set. And then what would happen is you could then have a football practical bit, or you could have basketball, or in my case, kayaking and canoeing and whatever. And the idea is the coaching side was the same, but those skills are transferable across multiple different things. And what those other practical things would do would allow you to apply that to that particular niche or area or whatever it was. And I think that, to me, I always look at coaches and mentors as a slightly different thing. I think a coach is exactly what you said there. They're transferable skills. They will ask the right questions. They will coach you. And the idea for me, a coach is someone that tries to bring the best out of you and helps you, like you say, collapse time, not make mistakes and things like that. Where a mentor, I think, if you, by definition, is somebody where they are mentoring you. They are literally saying, this is what I did. This is my process in doing it. I've known mentors that are terrible coaches, but they can help you get great results because you don't make the same mistakes they do. I've also seen coaches that are also terrible mentors because they may have not actually been through that experience themselves, but they actually know how to do something. Like, for example, you can have, like, I've coached golf before. I'm a terrible golfer, but I can improve the golf swing of somebody because I know how to coach. And I've done that practically before in the past. So I think to me, this is just my personal view, but I think coaches and mentors are a little bit different. And I think that area gets crossed a little bit within the fitness industry. But you don't always tend to see that outside the fitness industry. You actually tend to be different. You tend to have business coaches and you tend to have mentors.
So anybody that is watching, have you had coaches / mentors before, depending on where you're coming from, Ash, as a point of view? Let us know in the comments, or if you're watching this like further down the line, just put your comments or reach out and let us know. So would a coach then, in your terms, almost be classed as a teacher? A coach is someone that shows you how to do something, where a mentor guides you, holds you accountable, gives you a path to follow, and then you have a coach below that to help fine-tune your skills of everything.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think it's easier to see this difference, I think, within sports compared to maybe in business. But I think that's an important thing. I think it's possible a coach, for example, can work with somebody and they've never really achieved what that person can achieve. Like, for example, I was a climbing coach and I helped so many people become much better than what I was at climbing. And I could get their skills better. I could improve them. I could get them to compete at like high levels. I could do that as a coach. I couldn't do it myself, but I could do it. Where from a mentorship point of view, they also had mentors. They had people who they looked up to. They had people who at the climbing walls were climbing at this competitive level, and they could bring a different level of experience to the table than what I could as a coach. So yes, I can improve them and get them better, but then the experience that the actual climbers had, the ones that were competing at high level, they brought something else to the table, but they could bring what I brought to the table. And you see that quite a lot within sport. And I think a similar thing kind of happens within business. I think you could have a coach for, let's say if you're a social media marketing expert and you're a coach in that, you can understand social media marketing. You can apply the same principles across multiple businesses, niches, whatever you want to on that. That's why you have marketing companies that work with so many different types of businesses all the time. Yet they're not necessarily mentoring you in social media marketing. What they're doing is showing you how to get the most out of it or helping you do a particular job. They're coaching that particular thing that you want to have done, as opposed to a mentor, which to me is somebody would have experience in the business. They would have done that themselves and you're following that same path as them. And they might even say, well, actually, no, I want you to go and speak to this company, go and speak to this coach, go and hire this person, go and bring this company in, because that's what they did. And they can normally, a mentor to me is somebody you can go back, you can ask questions to, they'll be able to share their own experience with it. So like if you hit a barrier, hit a wall, you know, you're worried about something, you've got all the pressures and the stress that might come along with this, and you think, I need someone to talk to. A coach can sit there and ask you questions to try and help you, but a mentor's been in that same situation as you, and they can practically tell you what they did to get out of that situation. That sometimes can be all the difference. And it's great when you get both mixed together, but sometimes I think it's important to understand there are differences. And I think if you hire a mentor, it's important to understand that, I think from a mentorship point of view, if that's what they're claiming to be, technically speaking, they can really take you to the point where they got to, technically speaking. When you're a coach can take you beyond wherever they have got to. So they can take you beyond that point to an extent. And that's what I think the important thing to remember is that's what I personally think the important thing to remember between the two is.
So a mentor maybe is the psychologist, because you can talk to them, where a coach is more of an accountability partner where they hold you accountable to get things done. Because I'm guessing most people, they just need accountability. That is all they need, really. Like most people know how to lose weight. Most people know how to gain weight. Most people know what they need to do in their job to get a promotion and all this type of stuff. And I'm guessing most of it is down to really just being held accountable to say the things that you're going to do and get them done. So where does accountability come in then? Is that a separate kind of offering? You've got a mentor, someone who can guide you, ask the right questions and listening. Whereas you've got an accountability coach who's the person that helps set these targets, you work towards them, and then you get them ticked off to make sure you're actually getting them done.
Yeah, I would say there's a difference in the two. I'm not saying mentors can't hold you accountable, and I think a decent mentor will do. If you're, especially if you're paying to work with a mentor, because again, there's other industries where you don't even pay to work with mentors. But if you working with a mentor, I do think there should be a level of accountability there. But at the end of the day, it's not in their best interest, where like a coach's job really is to hold you accountable. It's to help you get better. And they know as a coach that, just like we know as coaches, as fitness coaches, that really accountability matters. And we're not going to get results for our clients unless we hold them accountable to the things that we're trying to help them do, help them achieve and whatever. Where a mentor doesn't necessarily have to do that, though I think a lot of them will do that. I think just naturally they'll have meetings with them. They'll go and sit down, have a drink and a chat and talk about what's going on. And that in itself is some level of accountability, because you feel like you've got a level of responsibility to that mentor to try and please them to work behind them or whatever it is. I can't think of the right word I'm kind of thinking of here. But yeah, I think there is a difference in the two. I think accountability is a really, really important thing.
Let me throw a curveball in then. So you said a mentor should be able to get you to the point that they've been to, where a coach can get you beyond the point that they've been to themselves. Yeah. So a topic that pops up quite a lot is, should a PT be in the shape Should the PT be in great shape in order to coach the clients, or should a PT be really stacked if they want to help their clients get really stacked type of thing? So you're saying as a coach, they're more of a coach because they can take clients beyond the point that they've been to themselves. Is that right?
I would say that, yeah.
Hey, it's going to pause it there for literally 2 seconds. If you're loving this week's episode, please let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. The more people we can get subscribing, the bigger guests we can get, and the more people we can help with the content being shared. Anyway, let's dive back into today's episode.
But I know that just from my own personal experience. Like, I've helped people get stage ready before. I've never been stage ready before. I've helped people become better climbers than I have. I never climbed their level before. I've helped people kayak at a really high standard and compete. Never been at that level before. And you can compare this to football coaches. How many football coaches do you know that have helped teams and taken them beyond where they've ever got to? How many strength training coaches? Like my business partner Jed, like he's literally trained world champions and Olympic medalists in powerlifting. He's never done that, but he's done it before. Now, I think there's an important side of it to look. If you're looking at aesthetics, I get there's certain reasons where aesthetic. In fact, I asked this on my social media channels last week or week before, asking about that very question you've asked there about the different, should you be in shape or not as a PT? And it's quite an interesting conversation that came out of it with quite a lot of people had different viewpoints on this. And I think it's quite a good way to show the difference between mentorship and coaching, because some people are like, yes, you should look half decent. At the end of the day, you should be in shape. You should walk the walk, do what you say you're going to do and look at that. And that can sometimes inspire people. Now, if you're inspiring people to do something, technically speaking, that's kind of like mentorship, isn't it? You're inspiring someone to get to where you are. So you can go and speak to them and do that. And you think, actually, I want to go and work with that person because they look how I want to be. That's kind of like mentorship, where if you look at coaching wise, people are also saying, well, yeah, you've got to be in half decent shape, but it doesn't make a difference whether I look like that or not. I know how to help that person get from A to B to where they want to be. There's two different things. That the way you look doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your ability to get them. And if you flip that around a little bit, if you go and look on the likes of let's take Instagram for example, there's a lot of people on Instagram who look amazing, look great, they've got awesome shapes, and they go out there and they start telling people to try and balance on boso balls and do bicep curls in order to get these, or they stick, I don't know, some kind of electrical pads on their abs, and that's how they got their abs. Like, there's a lot of these people out there who are saying do this, this, and this because they look great and they're inspiring people. And you could say they'll be like mentors, but just because they've got themselves into that shape doesn't mean it's the right way to get into that shape. It doesn't mean it's the best way to do it, the most efficient way of doing it. And it doesn't mean they can help anybody get past that, because all they can really do, because they haven't been trained properly in how to do it, all they can really do is help somebody get to where they got to following the same path that they did, because that's all they know. And I think that's an important thing to remember when it comes to this. And that's why I think it's so important to do your homework, because if you're going to work with somebody whose only reason they got to where they are is by following the things that they did, then that's fine. They can help you get there. But you have to also do exactly what they're doing to get there, because that's all they know. If you start teetering off that path, they've never really walked off that path, or never really learned the skill sets to walk off of that path, if you know what I mean. Another example might be this, that say, again, I've used my background as in the adventure industry. I was a mountain leader, so I used to take people rock climbing, kayaking up mountains and things like that. Now, I could give any member of the public a basic map, draw a line on it and say, here's the top, here's the bottom, this is the route you need to take, and give it to them. And they could probably follow it. But let's say if they have to go off path because there's a massive boulder in front of them, they can't get there, or there's a huge thing in the way that wasn't there beforehand, a river they have to cross or something, and they have to walk off. If they don't have the skills or the knowledge to navigate around that safely, shit's going to happen. Like, bad things can happen from it all. But if I was there with them as their coach, I could sit there and say, well, actually, what I'll do is I'm going to show you now how we can navigate. I'm going to show you how to use all these other things around here. Even though I've never been there before, I've never done that route before, I can impart my skill set as a coach onto them to help them navigate that safely. And those skills they can then take and do that anywhere they want then within the world, because they've got those skills now to go and do it. To me, that's the difference between the two.
So let's talk about homework then, because we mentioned this a few times. If someone was inspired by somebody, like you say, on Instagram, and they're seeing this person claim that they've had a super successful business, or claim they've ran a 6-figure business, and that's what they're talking about, and they're talking about 6-figure this, 6-figure that, 6-figure this. How should we be doing research to really know if they're the right person to actually work with in regards to, like I say, the difference between a coach and a mentor?
I think if you're talking about monetary stuff here, so we're talking about I want to have a 6-figure business, I would actually start further back than that. I think the first thing you need to try and understand is what that actually means to you and what you actually want from it all. Because it's very easy to go, I want to earn, or whatever it is, like 10 grand a month. Basis around 10 grand a month, what most people want to go and earn all the time. And I think a lot of people think that seems to be the sweet spot. The first thing you need to understand is, do you actually need to go and reach that point in order to achieve the things you want to achieve? And in order to find the right mentor or coach for that matter, you need to really understand what it is you want to achieve out of this, what it is you actually want to get out of it. Because unless you know the end goal from this, then it's almost impossible to do your research because you don't know what you're looking for in order to go and achieve these things. So if you're going to look for a mentor, try and figure out what that's going to be. Because if someone's promising, say, 6 figures to start off with, that's great. But if you might not want that. You might not want to have that amount of money. You might not need it. You might have to do a lot less work with a lot less money and still achieve the things that you want to achieve. So it's important to try and understand what those things are. Once you've done that as well, if you're working with a mentor specifically, then you want to go and speak to them and have a chat with them and try and find out a bit more about them. You know, you'll get onto these sales calls sometimes. And I'll talk a bit about this and how I think it's a bit skew-iffed in this industry. But a lot of time when, like in other industries, when we have mentors, you would interview each other. Like you really will interview each other. Like we used to in the guiding industry, to have a guide, you have to have a mentor. Not only have to be qualified as a coach at a certain level, you have to have a mentor as a guide. And it's a requirement in order to become a qualified mountain guide. But you interview each other. Like you choose the guide and then they choose you. Like it's a mutual relationship between them, where I think they're the kind of conversation you need to be having. You need to talk about their experience, what they've done, how they've helped people in the past. Ask those kind of questions on that call. Don't be afraid to get onto a strategy call or sales call and things like that and ask certain questions. And I think that's an important thing to do, to ask those questions, see what that's going to be like. I'm not saying you have to go and like, check the business profiles or, go and check their accounts or anything like that. But I would make sure you've got a good relationship with this particular mentor. If it's a coaching program, it's a little bit different. A coaching program, there should be a lot of data and information around there anyway available to you to help you. And it's like a coach when you're selling PT stuff. We've done that before. We give the benefits and things like that of the services that we can offer. So it's sometimes a bit easier to do your research on coaching programs. But for mentors, I think it should be a two-way conversation between mentor and mentoree to make sure you're both the right fit for each other.
So I think the perfect way of doing this is if you jump on a call with somebody and they're trying to sell to you instantly, that probably is a bad sign that they're really in it for the money. They're not really in it to see if they can actually help you grow. So like a mentor, that the person is they're supposed to feel like part of your business, part of you. They're supposed to want this to grow because I know that you said you don't like the word coach, and they should be one-on-one coaching or working closely with you to grow your fitness business. So I don't take on mentoring clients, but somebody reached out and they kept reaching out. So I did in the end. I finally replied to his DM and we had a chat. And during that call, like you say, I was interviewing him. I wasn't trying to sell because I didn't really want to mentor, but I was interviewing him, learning everything about his business, literally poking holes everywhere. This needs to change. We need to swap that, change this, alter that, change this, alter that. And then at the end, I didn't even sell. I just explained everything. This is what I would do. And then again, it's like a sales strategy. If you go in and show them everything that they need to do, they're going to think, wow, oh my, imagine if I did work with this person, what am I going to do? And that's what I did. I basically interviewed him, found out about his business. I made that decision then, should I work with this person or not? I left it blank at the end of the call. He reached out. I then had to probably think about it. And I said, yes, I'll take you on. So if the person isn't wanting to know everything about your fitness business or because then it blends into like a coaching one. Then, like if you're reaching out to somebody specifically because you want to be mentored by them, and they send their salesperson onto the call with you, and then you end up working with some other random person in the business, then that really isn't a mentor call, I'm guessing, because it's not with the person that you actually want to reach out to. Again, we're changing things up here quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to be mentored by a specific person, then you obviously do the research, learn about them, reach out to them, and let them see if they've got that knowledge to help you grow. And if you're getting a bad feeling like they just want the money or they're not really interested in your business, then that is a perfect sign to say, you know what, I need to find somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a key thing. I think in reality, what most things that are offered within within the fitness industry that we call mentorship programs and business mentorship, in reality are business coaching programs. That's in reality what they are. Because a lot of the time you may have the odd mentor that you'll work with. There might be there might be a mentor within that program that you want to follow, but they might have a team of people that work with you. And sometimes you might speak to that mentor. There's definitely a crossover. The reason I want to bring up the difference in the two is because I think it's important we understand that there's a difference between the two. And I think it's important to recognize that. And it's difficult sometimes with mentorship alone, because there's a lot of people that will maybe call themselves mentors, and I think that can cause a bit of confusion sometimes with it. But I think generally speaking, there's a crossover between the two. And I think the majority of stuff that's offered within the industry is more like business coaching than what it is actual business mentorship, especially on the online side of things. The online fitness side of things is quite interesting when it comes to mentorship. And I always find it's really interesting because if you're being mentored in your business by a business owner, if you think the average lifespan of a fitness business, well, it's actually not that long at all, but the average lifespan of any business is around 5 years. The fitness industry is actually a lot less. And if you look at that and you think there's people that, I'm not going to mention their names, but I know who are in the mentorship industry who will come self-business mentors, run these things, and they've had online businesses for like 2-3 years. They've made some money very quickly for whatever reason. And they then start sharing their systems to other people because it's a great way of making some income really, really quickly. And I always have this argument, and we actually see this all the time. We have people that come to us who've been on some of these programs, mentorship programs. They come and tell us, and we have conversations with them. And yeah, they made some money quickly, but when they get to like year 3, year 4, they're like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing really now, because what they're having to do is they're trying to do this thing that in reality they can't do for the rest of their life. And the first thing I always ask them is say, well, actually, what you're doing now in your business, can you do this every single day for the rest of your life until you retire? And the answer is almost always no. So I said, you've got to change something in. And what tends to be missing is because a lot of especially in the online world, a lot of this, the mentorship programs in there, they're based on a small amount of time. They've never took their business past that tipping point, like kind of 5-year tipping point. So they don't have the business experience yet, not within this industry, the pure business experience around what it takes to go through those processes and how to make a sustainable long-term business. And because of that, it starts to show. And I'm seeing more and more and more of it now as time's starting to move on, as more people starting to come online. I'm starting to see a lot more of it. And these fundamental basics seem to be missing in a lot of, not all of them. There's some good ones out there, but a lot of these mentorship programs out there. I don't know if you've seen the same. That's what I've
I'd have to agree with that. Like when we're talking about doing our homework here as well, like if they're talking about one key principle all the time, yet we know, like running a fitness studio, you need to find clients. And if this person and they're claiming to be a mentor and all they're talking about is finding clients, they need to go back for a few posts to see if they've talked about what happens when you lose clients. What about trying to make the sales, different ways of making the sales, how to onboard them successfully, how to keep them beyond the first 2 months, how to keep them then up to 16 months, how to then find staff, how to then let go of staff, how to interview staff, how to reduce your costs. Like if they're not talking about all the other stuff that goes into running a fitness business, or even about in the fitness industry, other parts, and they claim to be a mentor, then that again would be red flags. So like if anybody follows me or Ash, we don't just talk about our thing inside that. I don't talk about Facebook ads all the time. I go way off into different directions because Facebook ads is one part of running a business. There's so many other parts to it, which if you're only focused on one thing, it's everything else is going to crumble down because you don't have the supports to to grow from that. So if someone is talking about one thing all the time, they're probably more of a coach than a mentor, because, like you said, they don't have the experience to be able to, I keep saying the word coach, they don't have the way to mentor you across those other aspects of running a successful business.
Yeah, definitely. And a business coach, generally speaking, will have a bit of each of those things that they understand at least and can help you. And I think that brings us quite nice onto what I was talking about earlier. And I said, I don't have an actual mentor at the moment. And I was going to explain the reason why. And that's kind of the reason why. Where now, like, if I want to work on something, I'll, instead of having an overall view on something, I'll an overall, everything. What I actually need is something specific. So let's say if I want to learn more about Facebook ads, I will get a coach specifically to help me with that, who specializes in that particular thing. If I want to learn more about this assets operations within our business to tidy that up, I'll get a very specific coach that focuses on that thing. And I find now generally that if I find a very specific expert in that particular field, yeah, it might actually cost you more in the long run by doing it, because they're an expert, they're a specialist, and we know the benefits of doing that. But that's what I will do now. I'll find a very particular thing to help, a very particular type of coach to help me in a very particular type of area to help me become better at that particular thing. But in order to do that, I needed to have some of this mentorship and baseline stuff in the past to understand what I actually needed in the first place to go and do it. And that's why I think it's important to have a mix of both. I think it's important to maybe start off with some mentors or coaches to help you get to this base level. But after that, don't be afraid to experiment with different people, experiment with different coaches and try things out. And some things will work, some things won't work. But either way, you're going to learn something from it. I guarantee it.
Hey, just going to pause it there really quickly. If you know any guests that would love to feature, or if you yourself would like to feature on one of these episodes, do let us know by reaching out or letting us know in the comments. Anyway, let's get back into the episode.
That's a perfect example. A mentor, like you said earlier, can only take you to a certain stage. Now, I've been through different mentors before, and I've got one now, and this mentor is way ahead of where I am right now. But previous mentors, like you said, you've got to that point with them, and they can't teach you nothing else. There's nothing else they know, and that's kind of the point to say, thank you for your time. I appreciate the work you've done with me. I'm now going to move on to the next person. So don't be scared to say goodbye to one mentor and move on to the next mentor who's slightly higher up the scale. And then you can keep building from that. And at the same time, like the title is this, should you have a mentor? No, not everybody needs a mentor. Like, not everybody needs to have accountability come to your fitness studio to train. People go to Pure Gym or JD or all these other places to train by themselves. They might just want some very specific information. So they'll reach out to a nutrition coach or accountability coach or a sleep coach or hydration coach or a Pilates instructor, because they just need to fine tune a certain part of their own development. And it will probably be the same in your fitness business. You've probably found an issue right now, and that doesn't mean you need to go and find a 5K, a 10K, a 30K, a 40K mentor. Maybe you just need to go and do a program which is 500 quid, and that gives you all the resources you need to be able to just fill that void, have all the information you need to know, and then move on to the next problem.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way you've summarized it there is perfect. I think that's absolutely spot on. And also, just to add to that as well, I also think a decent mentor, a good mentor, will tell you when that stage comes. They should be able to identify where their limits are and say, right, and they'll probably be able to recommend somebody to you as well, because the chances are they probably had a mentor who took them to where they are now. That's generally what happens. And I think if you've got a decent mentor, they will actually help point you in the right direction.
So let me spin this around then and talk about something slightly different then. Let's talk about masterminds a little bit then. So we've talked about mentors where they're going to give you support and guidance sort of type. We've had a coach who's going to teach you how to do something specifically. Now, what is a mastermind then? Is it more like holding people accountable to get the work done in a group, or is it something completely different again?
So I've been part of masterminds before in the past. I'm part of like one now, one I don't even pay for, funny enough, and also ones that you do pay for. It all depends really on the type of mastermind you're going into. But for me, a lot of the time, a mastermind is basically having a group of like-minded people together in a structured environment, sharing their thoughts, their experiences and ideas, and holding each other accountable for something. And I think that is different to mentorship. I think that is different to like coaching and things like that, because what you've got is this shared knowledge of all people at a certain level. You're going to have people at different levels as well. Some people are going to be a lot further ahead than others. And effectively what you do is you kind of mentor each other, you share ideas, you speak to each other. And as long as it's done in an organized way, in a structured way, so you'll have meetups, you'll do things in person a lot. I love in-person masterminds to get that social element of it all. And you'll normally have people who will head it up, so there'll be particular subjects and topics that you talk about. But the whole idea of it really to me is to share. It's a place of sharing experience, sharing ideas, meeting other people, throwing ideas off each other, throwing struggles off each other, and using people's shared experiences to help each other. And that's, to me, what a good mastermind is all about.
And I think maybe that potentially why masterminds might be slightly better than a coaching program or a mentor itself, because you're coming with a select group of people who are at your stage, maybe slightly high, maybe slightly lower, but there's no significant, huge cavern difference where you can then share ideas with each other. So then you're all growing at the same time, because running a fitness business, you might have one struggle, but somebody else has already taken that off and they can share their experiences with you, or vice versa. And that's why having that accountability to just do the work you're going to say that you're going to do to a group of people who are exactly in similar positions to you, who can then soundboard each other ideas with each other. It's going to make your life so much better, really.
Yeah. And I like masterminds for that. Like I say, one of my favorite things is to be a mastermind and go and find coaches do particular things to help me with particular stuff I want to. And honestly, 99% of the time, if I need to find one, I'll ask somebody you can ask somebody in that mastermind, because the chances are somebody's been through that already. If you've got a decent mastermind with a good amount of people in, not too many, but a decent amount of people in from different experiences, they're going to have had that same experience as you somewhere. So someone can always try and help point you in the right direction. And to me, that gives you the best of both worlds.
And like you say, when they're having these mastermind meetups, you're bringing specific coaches or tutors or guests in to talk about specific topics as well. So as the mastermind continues over the years, you then have a port of training for each specific aspect. So then you're always developing on that with having an expert come in. Now, the reason we've kind of talked a little bit about masterminds here is because we potentially might have a mastermind coming up. So if you're looking to be held a lot more accountable with a group of like-minded people all ready to develop and grow, then reach out to us just to learn a little bit more while we just fine-tune everything before we actually officially launch it.
Yeah, I think the whole idea of this Fitpro Social mastermind, I say it's something we've been thinking about doing. Hopefully you can see the benefits of doing something like this. And it's going to be there's going to be some online stuff there with it as well, but it is going to be a physical meetup. The whole idea of this is to get to meet each other, speak to each other, have regular events, both in the UK and abroad as well. That's the idea.
Cool. Okay, so anybody that has been watching or listening today, let us know how you've got on with your previous mentors. Obviously, you don't need to mention any names if you don't want to. Share maybe some good experiences, some bad experiences, and things that you found that worked for you previously. So again, so everybody watching or listening to this can share those same ideas and just get the right information for themselves, because that's what the Fitpro Social podcast is all about. We want to share information with you guys, the stuff that's really important to really help make a difference, and gives you the stuff that maybe some people are not talking about because it might go against how you should run a business.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. I think that's it from us then. Well, thank you so much for everyone that's joined us today. I appreciate you coming on. If you want to catch up on any replays of this, you can find it on our socials, but you can also find it on the usual podcast places as well. And make sure you do subscribe to our channels wherever it is you listen to the Fitpro Social. We'll be back on next week. That's it from me.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Fitpro Social. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.